Welcome to Caregiver Counsel, Elder Law Insights with Tieesha Taylor.
Welcome back to Caregiver Counsel, Elder Law Insights. I'm Tieesha Taylor, founder and CEO of the elderly care law firm in South Florida, where we provide compassionate generational legal services to families who are navigating Medicaid, guardianship, probate, and long-term care. Joining me today is Erick Montealegre, a certified senior advisor, community educator with the Alzheimer's Association, and he's also the owner of Happy Mountain Home Care. Erick has spent years helping seniors and families navigate the challenges that come with aging, caregiving, and long-term care decisions. And today we're talking about the hidden struggles families, caregivers face, and some of the challenges families don't always see coming until they're living through them. So welcome, Erick. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Tieesha, and thank you for having me on.
Yeah, so first, let's just start. Can you just tell us what are some of the challenges family caregivers face that people rarely anticipate when they first step into that role as a caregiver?
Wow, I think the first thing that most family caregivers don't anticipate is actually becoming caregivers. It rarely starts with a major event where you're suddenly poof a caregiver. No, it starts with like small things like driving to appointments occasionally, and then helping with groceries, and managing medications, and suddenly you're paying bills. Then one day you realize you're spending 20 plus hours a week caring for a loved one. Most family caregivers don't apply for the job; they just kind of like inherit it. In all seriousness, though, the time commitment is always much bigger than expected. People think caregiving is a few doctor's visits and checking in occasionally, and the reality, it includes like scheduling appointments, coordinating with transportation, managing the medications, communicating with multiple providers, handling insurance paperwork, and all kinds of emergency situations. Caregiving often becomes a second full-time or part-time job.
Yes, yes. And then I guess, how does becoming a caregiver change someone's daily life in ways they may not even expect? I know you mentioned a few things, but really hone into that. Like, what is really going to change a caregiver's life? How do their lives change?
So I think there's two big things that impact your life. The first thing is it's your calendar. Caregiving starts taking over your calendar with the doctor's appointments, the prescription refills, the weekly grocery shopping, transportation. It's one of the biggest surprising is how quickly caregiving starts filling every empty space on your calendar. You lose your free time, and all the free time becomes caregiving time. And then secondly, your relationships change. You stop just being a son or daughter or spouse, and suddenly you're also a care coordinator, a medication manager, transportation provider, advocate, financial helper. We begin to make decisions for the people who make decisions for us. Even marriages can feel strained from competing priorities, and friendships can suffer because there's less time and energy available to maintain those friendships. So those are the two big things that really change your life.
Okay, now you hinted on this, Eric, but can you delve a little further into this? How can caregiving begin to affect relationships between spouses, siblings, and other family members?
So sibling relationships can become very strained. One of the most common challenges is unequal involvement. Often one sibling lives nearby and handles most of the caregiving. Other siblings may live out of town or be less involved. Resentment can develop, especially when responsibilities don't feel like they're equally shared. You'll have a caregiver whose common thoughts include things like, "Why am I doing everything? Why doesn't anyone else help? Why am I the only one showing up?" Most caregiving conflicts aren't really about care; they're about expectations, communication, and feeling unsupported. But also, marriages can experience significant stress when one of the spouses takes on the caregiving role for a parent. There's, of course, time together decreases, stress increases, emotional energy becomes limited. I mean, there's only so much people can give, and when you're giving it all to one person, it may not be enough to give to someone else. And then conversations often get siloed, or they revolve around caregiving responsibilities. So it can really kind of take some of the spark out of the marriage. And then the partner can feel neglected or overwhelmed or guilty for wanting attention or just unsure how to help.
Yeah. And then what are some signs that a caregiver may be taking on more than they realistically can manage alone? So, what are some of those signs where some caregivers may think, I could just do it, I could do it all on my own, but can you just give us some signs that, maybe that the caregivers can kind of notice and say, listen, this may be realistically too much for you to handle?
Yeah, so the first person the caregiver stops caring for is themselves. Their needs start to move to the bottom of the list. So you see that they skip doctor's appointments, they stop exercising, they start eating poorly or skipping meals. They neglect hobbies or activities they once enjoyed. So they're really putting their own personal life on hold, and they start to ignore their own health concerns and things like that. They're very exhausted. They're feeling tired all the time. They're having difficulty sleeping. They're waking up worried. Even when they do get enough sleep, the mental and emotional burden can leave them feeling drained. You should listen for things like, I don't know how much longer I can do this, or I'm exhausted. I never have time for myself. Nobody understands what I'm dealing with. I'm doing everything. Those are the things that caregivers start saying when they're feeling trapped instead of supported. At that point, it's really time to start looking for additional help.
Yeah, and then tell us about that. What should they be looking for if a caregiver gets to that point where they're overwhelmed? What should they be looking for, and how can they seek assistance?
The first step I would say is to reach out to your local agency on aging and start finding out what community resources are actually available, whether it be adult daycares, whether it be home care, or in certain circumstances, if there might be a need for an assisted living facility. But the first step is to really reach out to the local area on aging and find out what's available in your community, because very often there's lots of community centers. Um, Even there's a new guide program that provides respite care for the caregivers, so someone can come into the house and help, right, and help support them for a certain amount of hours a day. That's paid by Medicare. So reaching out to the local area on aging is really that first step, and then finding out what professional um, resources are available, like home care or assisted living or something.
Now, for someone who is caring for a loved one and feels like they're carrying the entire burden themselves, what would you want them to know and walk away with?
So first and foremost, they're doing a great job. I mean, if both them and their loved one are still with us, they've already succeeded, right? And second, we were never meant to do this alone. One of the biggest misconceptions is that asking for help is somehow means you're not doing enough. The truth is, none of us can do everything. No one can provide 24/7 support indefinitely. No one can pour from an empty cup. We need to refill ourselves. Caregiving was never intended to be a one person responsibility. Just like it takes a village to raise a child, it also takes that same village to care for each other and to care for our loved ones. So just don't try to do it alone. That's not how any of us were intended to do it.
Great, great. And then for listeners who want to connect with you or learn more about your work, can you tell us just briefly about what you can do, how you can support caregivers, and where they should go to reach out to you?
Sure. Thanks for bringing that up. So our agency, Happy Mountain Home Care, our goal is to support the caregiver. We do that by taking care of the caregiver's responsibilities, being the ones that the caregiver can delegate to, so that the caregiver can take care of themselves. So ideally, we meet with a family, discuss what the needs actually are, and decide how we're gonna spread those needs amongst the family, but then against amongst ourselves. Because our point isn't to take anything over. Our point is to come in and provide support so that the entire family gets supported. They can reach out to me on our website, www.happymtn.com, or they can call us at 954-654-8186.
Wonderful. Thank you, Eric. Thanks for listening to Caregiver Counsel, Elder Law Insights. If you're facing questions about long term care, Medicaid, guardianship, probate, or even protecting an aging loved one, you can connect with my team at elderlycarelawfirm.com or 305-836-4697. And if you found this episode helpful, please leave a review, and subscribe to the show. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.